Welcome, everybody, to this edition of the Connected Biz online spotlight video. And today I've got Andrea Hylen with me, which is always very fun and exciting. She's the founder of Heal My Voice and the Incubator, which is an online co-working space for women offering writing support and coaching and just a great place to be and create. She's an ancestral lineage healing practitioner and the author of Heal My Voice, An Evolutionary Woman's Journey, along with 12 other books featuring stories from by women of trauma, loss, grief, hope, and triumph. So I am so glad that I get to chat with you again today. Um, so for those that aren't familiar with you, how did tell us a little bit of your background, how you got into what you're doing now, because it's
Well, what
always
I
a
want,
journey.
yeah, yeah. The first thing that I want to say is that I would say that the way people who've known me over the years, they would say that I'm a writer and a writing coach, and that I hold space for women in a variety of ways in grief circles, in conversations about sexuality, in talking about the body, all kinds of things like that. And part of that for decades, I always did a little something with the ancestors. Like, I always really believed that it was important for us to honor the history of the people who came before us. That, in particular, because I've worked so often with women, I really wanted women to look at what were the conditions that women lived under for a long time, and to for all of us to practice forgiveness and compassion around that. You know, we're in a different time
Yeah.
now. And back in maybe, it's funny, I'm always changing the dates of this because some other memory will come up around it, but it was probably somewhere around 2014. And every year leading up to 2019. So for about a 5 year period, there were these things that happened in my family that got me thinking about what is it really going to take to heal dysfunctional patterns? Like,
Mhm.
okay, I would go for a week vacation, I'd see something happen, I'd be like, how can I change that in myself? And then I'd, go home, take my seminar, work with a therapist, whatever the thing was that year. But there was something about 2014 to 2019 where I was just like, I don't know, something's going on here. And a friend of mine suggested that I dive deeper into the ancestral lineage healing. And it was from there that I took a number of courses that not only was I looking at the history, but I was connecting with ancestors in spirit. And it was around 2019 that I was taking a bunch of courses, and then I came across Daniel Four of the ancestral medicine community, and he'd written a book, and he had learned for like 20 years different ways of doing ancestral lineage healing, and he'd come up with a 5 step process. And that was where I really dove into the work that I'm doing now. But let me just say one other thing. There are times in your life where you start to see a pattern from childhood that was leading you here all along.
Yep.
And for me, I never lived near either set of grandparents, but I had 4 living grandparents who lived into their 80s.
Mhm.
And so I got to know them through visits at summer or holidays or things like that. And one of my grandmothers was really into the genealogy of her husband's Mayflower line. And so I remember when I would go to visit her, we'd go to the cemetery. And
Mhm.
so ancestral lineage healing at that point was genealogy, you know.
Mhm.
But it was these other things that led me to actually working through spirit and connecting through spirit. So that's a little of the background. Yeah.
So that all that does is just pique my interest.
Yeah.
Um, so, obviously, mainly you work with women. So how have you found the ancestral lineage healing um, helpful for women, like just in all areas of their life, I would assume,
Sure.
or
Yeah, sure.
in, from a business perspective, from everything's intertwined, but how, tell us more.
Yes, I will tell you more. All right. So I did tell you all that the way I would say people would define me in business is writing and
Hmm.
publishing books and working with women. And just so that you know, I have worked with men in individual sessions, but just a lot of my work, I have daughters. I was drawn to women's circles, so I tend,
Yeah,
and most of my programs are women. So just so that you know, there's no, like, I don't have to
we're not,
defend it. I don't have to
yeah.
defend it, but I just want to say hello to the men who have worked with me individually. I see you, I appreciate you, and all of that. And they know me well enough to know that I talk about women more than I talk about men. So through writing, I always had this desire to heal intergenerational trauma. And I feel like that
Mhm.
was another piece around it and the writing. And so, how can I describe this? So when I started Heal My Voice, I knew about shamanism. I worked with I had women in my programs who were shamans or worked in the spirit world, and I did a lot of meditating with the spirit
Hmm.
world. But I didn't realize until I got into this other ancestral lineage healing piece that when I started Heal My Voice and I wanted women to write a story about trauma, loss, or grief and
Hmm.
reclaim the power that was tied up in that story, that in essence, that was soul retrieval. That was going back into
Mm.
those parts of ourselves that we hide to keep them safe when we go through challenging times in our lives. And we all
Hmm.
do it. We're so
Yeah.
wise as children to be like, oh, I get yelled at for that. I'm going to hide this part of myself.
Hmm.
But it was in the writing that I started to actually do this soul retrieval, or let's do curse unraveling. Let's look at these things that have held you back, that have limited you, that are blocks. This is all, to me, what the ancestral lineage healing is. But I'll tell you the thing that started to change in my life. First of all, it started to change my relationship with my daughters
Hmm.
because part of ancestral lineage healing is setting boundaries with the unseen world so that
Hmm.
as you kind of work with spirits, you're going in with your invisibility cloak, let's just say. So give us something that maybe people have heard of before,
Right.
or at least in an imagination. But what I started to do was in this process of, okay, I can see I'm like bouncing from one thing to another because I'm in my mind thinking of all the ways that it has changed my life because it has completely changed my life and my relationships with the living and with my work. So
Is there one that's like really the biggest?
I guess the thing that I would just say is two things are coming to me. One is that when you work in this type of ancestral lineage healing, you're really starting to ask your ancestors about what are the blessings and the burdens on each line. The blessings are the gifts, talents, skills. You might see
Hmm.
a lineage of writers or accountants or land tenders, that you
Hmm.
just go, oh, yeah, that's what we do in our family. And we're all good at it. We all like it. This is our talents and skills. But the ancestral lineage healing, working with spirit, you start to ask them to contain the burdens and I'll just say, like, have their own Reiki circle
Hmm.
with the
Yeah.
ancestors. And for us to actually step back, and we've asked them to do this, they'll do this kind of healing. And what happens is that the burdens that have been kind of trickling down the lineage begin to be contained in a way that healing starts to happen. And so
Hmm.
that the way that it changes is that you're no longer sitting in a rowboat wondering, I keep bailing the water. I can't figure out where this water is coming from, but there's so much effort to always be bailing the water. And all of a sudden you realize you're sitting in the rowboat and there's no more water coming into the rowboat. And you're just like, oh, now that we don't have these burdens trickling down,
Right.
the next step is you start looking at where you may be perpetuating the burdens.
Hmm.
And then you just start to focus on changing yourself
Hmm.
without these other burdens coming down.
Hmm.
And so once the burdens from each of the lines was contained and being healed, I started to become aware of the dynamics with the living.
Hmm.
And for some, it meant not spending time with them anymore. It
Hmm.
meant setting some kind of a boundary, like, I'd love to know what's going on in your life, but I only want to text with you. I'm not coming to any of the gatherings. And then
Hmm.
with those who want to, in your family, who want to work on, okay, let's change the dynamics, let's change these patterns, then your relationships start to strengthen in a way. And that's how it has really changed with me. And it's helped me even in my work because I don't know, in some ways, I would say people see me as a confident person, but I really feel like a confident person.
I was gonna say I could imagine, like my take would be like that's got to bring in a certain level of like calmness, like stability isn't the right word, but like anchored,
It does.
just
It
really
it
anchored
anchors
in where
you,
you are.
and maybe I'll tell you, maybe there's a listener who says, "Wow, I've been raised by a really healthy parent, emotionally healthy parents and emotionally healthy grandparents," then you may not be able to relate to being in a family where that's not the case. And
Hmm.
what I feel now is I have this whole range of ancestors who I can call on in a way that I was never able to really call on my
Hmm.
parents or my grandparents, who
Hmm.
I had great love for all of them, but it doesn't mean that they're able to emotionally take care of themselves or you, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, blessings to them and all of that. And even when my father died in 2021, we were semi estranged at the time
Hmm.
because I was doing this work and I really felt like every conversation just felt like an unhealed, harmful
Yeah.
conversation. So it was like, I love you. You stay on that side. I'm going to stay on this side. Oh, it's your birthday. Here's a nice musical card for you, sending you love, but I'm not going to the birthday party. It's just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
setting a boundary. And now that he has died, I continue to work with the lineage and I go through cycles where I can feel another layer, another layer, another layer. And just recently, I did an ancestor circle actually last week, and I called on my father's lineage. And when they showed up, I could feel it energetically like, oh my gosh, they're just holding me in a different way. It's
Hmm.
like present, gentle. I felt this shift in even this feeling of them like they're rooting for me. Like,
Hmm.
how can we support you? We want you to bring forth all of who you are, and
Yeah.
I don't know, different layers. And people have different experiences, but I would say this, what I've been describing, is what is common. It is a common thing that you really start to notice that you don't have the backpack of rocks on anymore.
Hmm.
you know. And before I did ancestral lineage healing, like actually I just realized that 2026 it'll be 50 years since I first listened to Phil Donahue and realized that I could ask questions, and there were self-help gurus on like
Uh-huh.
Wayne Dyer, Marianne Williamson, people who came on his show where he's running around in the audience asking people, women, what do you think? And I'd be like, you can do that? Oh my gosh. They're asking women what they
Right.
think, and I was 19 at the time. Um, but yeah, so it's not like I haven't been doing personal growth work for a long time.
Yeah.
But this was almost like the end of a long physical illness where you realize you can take a homeopathic remedy, and that's the final piece. That's the
Hmm.
one that brings it all together.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful stuff.
Yeah.
So with your like with this healing, what's the core service? You have like a program that you take people through, or it's just sessions, or how do you or what are
Well,
your
I would say there are a couple of ways that people work with me. One is the one-on-one if they want individual sessions. That's one way to do it.
hmm
Another way is I developed 3 online courses this year that are self-paced. Yes, with thanks to Sherry. Yes, so we put it all in a structure that people can access easily. But I have 3 different levels of ancestral courses to help people kind of build. Like the first course is about building a relationship with the unseen world,
hmm
and it's 28 lessons to just start to practice because that's number one is
Yeah.
develop a relationship with the unseen world. And just so that it doesn't sound too woo woo for anyone. I mean, I'm totally woo woo, but just so that, to give
Yeah.
give someone a little grounded place in it is that anytime you are doing, for instance, creative work, or you are daydreaming, or you are meditating, you're actually tapping into an unseen world. You are tapping into a different, sometimes we call it being in the zone of something.
Yep.
And you feel
Yep.
like, wow, where did those ideas come from? Where did where was I in that place? That's what I'm calling the unseen world. It's another realm. And so, first of all, learning how to do that. And then that's the first requirement. The second course is focuses a lot on grief and forgiveness work because it's very common that that starts to come up when we do any kind of ancestral work, whether it
Yeah.
is the grief that our ancestors carried or it is the grief that we carry because of life.
Yep.
And then the third course takes you step by step how to do the lineage repair yourself. So I have those, they're self paced, independent study, and I offer a monthly free talk about ancestral lineage healing. I've got a YouTube video that has some of those videos, but private sessions or doing the online courses are really the main ways that people work with me.
Neat.
Mhm.
And you also have a free gift that you're sharing. I know that.
I
So
do
do
have a free
tell.
gift, and it is called, let me get the 10 Simple Rituals for Connecting with Your Ancestors. There's also a video that link to how to set up ritual safety that you
Mhm.
can sign up for that. And yeah, ritual is one of the easiest ways to begin to develop more of a connection while also creating like a boundary of support around yourself. And a ritual can be as simple as lighting a candle.
Yeah, I
You
was
know,
gonna say, so many people tie that word to like these preconceived, I've watched too many movie type things,
yeah,
and it's
yes,
and it's really not. It's just
no,
what, like a certain way that you do something. I'm not finding my words today, but more from like a
Yeah,
habit.
yeah.
It's like, okay, this is my favorite prayer, and that's the one I do every day, and that's my ritual, or this is my,
Yes.
yeah, those type of things, or you can make them complicated if you want to,
Yeah, and
right?
I have some really simple ways of playing with ritual. And then one of the things also, if you stay signed up and don't unsubscribe, which you are more than welcome to unsubscribe, but if you stay with it once a month for 12 months, I send an email that has another ritual with it. So that's all connected with the free thing. And, a way that I start my day is I light a candle and I say, Good morning to my vibrantly well ancestors, good morning to the spirits of land, and good morning to my trusted protector guides. Thank you for being with me throughout my day and night. And there are times where
Oh,
I
I
light
love it.
and there are times where I will light a candle, and as I'm saying those other things, I'm walking to the kitchen to start a cup of coffee. So it's not like, oh, I must always be in this space. No,
Right?
it's like if you wake up and you're with somebody in your house and you would say, "Hey, good morning." You light the candle. You're going to talk with them as you're going into the kitchen, you know? It's like that's
Yeah.
developing relationships. So simple rituals, but it has been one of my missions this year to really talk about simple rituals. So even on my YouTube channel, I have talks that I did at On Purpose Woman. I've done some different shorter talks. So I just want to talk about that. I even had a talk that I did on my birthday where I invited people, come, let's do a birthday ritual
Celebrate. Yeah.
together. Let's everybody bring a candle, you know? And at the end of talking about rituals, so we just lit a candle and made a wish, set an intention for the year, and then, blew it out.
Yep.
And so it is, Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Well, that is just, I love, like you, I've been in the woo-woo side of things for, since I was 18. I don't know,
Huh?
way back, right?
Yep.
Um, but there's always new things to learn, and there's always new experiences to have, and just what I love about listening to you too is it's not complicated. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be
Doesn't.
hard. It can all be simple, you know, 5 minutes or less, right? Quick,
Yeah.
easy. And that's what this free gift sounds like. It's perfect for somebody that wants to start with that. Um, so anybody watching the video, the link's going to be below. Just go help yourself to that. And then you get the 12 months of extra rituals.
It
So that's
just comes.
exciting.
You sign up once, and it'll come once a month with another ritual. Yeah.
Awesome. 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 And thank you so much for just
Mhm.
sharing what you know. It's so timely. Well, there's never a bad time for that thing.
Yeah, yeah, but right now we could use the support of the
Yeah.
ancestors, and yeah.
Yeah.
Last year I did a lot of ancestor ritual or circles because of what's going on in the world and everything, and
Yeah.
to get the backing of wise, well ancestors is another way of getting support for yourself during these
Awesome.
times of change.
Yep. Yep. Wonderful.
Well, as always, thank you, Sherry. Thanks for
And
having
thank
me
you.
here
And
and for the having the opportunity to talk with your audience.
always a pleasure. All right, everybody, go get your freebie. All right. Until
Okay.
next time.
Bye, everyone.